Okay, so when you picture Tolkien's elves, figures like Legolas, so graceful, or maybe Galadriel and Lothlórien, what usually comes to mind?
Yeah, you probably think wisdom, right?
Right.
Beauty, maybe some kind of timeless magic.
Exactly. And I mean, they are all those things, but there's this other side, this really deep paradox about them,
Hmm.
that these incredibly long-lived, immortal beings are often just filled with this profound sorrow.
It's fascinating. We often miss that tragedy beneath the shimmer. Immortality isn't this endless party for them,
Not at all. It's more like a burden, really, a burden of memory, watching everything change and decline.
which is what we want to dig into today. This core idea, something Galadriel actually says. Through the ages of the world, we have fought the long defeat.
Such a powerful line.
It really is. So our mission, our deep dive here is to unpack that. What is this long defeat? Why is their immortality so bittersweet?
And why their deepest sadness isn't about death, but about simply having to endure. Right. And hopefully by the end, you listening will have a totally new way of seeing Tolkien's elves and maybe even a new perspective on history and endurance itself.
It's a great focus. And to really get it, you have to start with their basic nature, like you said. They're the firstborn,
Yeah.
bound to the world, to Arda, until its very end. Tolkien puts it quite clearly in the Silmarillion. He says, elves remain until the end of days.
And their love of the earth and all things in it is more single than the love of men. So it's like a deeper connection.
A deeper and maybe more tragic connection. Because it's not just about living forever. It's not endless bliss.
No, definitely not carefree.
Yeah.
So what's the real weight of it then?
Well, Tolkien gets into this in Morgoth's Ring. He explains that because they're immortal within Arda, time itself affects them incredibly deeply.
How so?
He says their joy is deeper than mortal joy, but their grief is also deeper, and their memories more vivid, more enduring.
Wow. So everything is amplified, the good and the bad.
Exactly. Imagine feeling every loss, every joy with that intensity and having it never fade, never dulling over time.
That's hard to even imagine. It's such a stark contrast to men, to humans. We live, we die, we leave the world. There's a kind of release in that, maybe.
There is, in Tolkien's view, but the elves, they stay. They're the constants, the witnesses.
Watching everything, kingdoms rising, falling.
Beauty fading, memories eroding for everyone else. They carry this continuous consciousness of the world's story, its beauty and its sorrows.
And that continuous witness leads right into their biggest burden, doesn't it? Memory.
Absolutely, that's the core sorrow. They just don't forget. Every single loss, every exile, every war, every betrayal,
It's all just there, permanently.
permanently etched. Not like a story you recall, but like a living wound that just keeps accumulating over thousands of years.
Unbelievable. Finrod Felagund, one of the great elven kings in the Silmarillion, he says something about this.
He does, yeah.
Long have the Eldar endured, and long have they remembered. For the griefs of the first age do not fade, nor do the tales grow dim. It's not just poetic, it sounds like a literal description.
It really is their reality.
Yeah.
And think about Galadriel. She's the perfect example. She saw Valinor, the Blessed Realm, in its glory,
Before the light dimmed, yeah.
lived through the horrors of Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, the Kinslayings where elves kill other elves,
Such a dark chapter.
and the oath of Fëanor's sons, which caused so much suffering. She carries millennia of that vivid, painful memory. You see it shaping her in The Lord of the Rings.
It makes you think about what Tolkien himself said about them. He saw elves as representing sort of the higher aspects of human nature.
Right, the artistic, aesthetic, and purely scientific aspects raised to a higher level. That's from one of his letters.
But he also said they kind of wanted to have their cake and eat it.
Ah, yes. They loved the mortal world. They'd grown fond of it,
Yeah.
but they wanted to possess it with minds more like the Valar, the powers.
Like they wanted the peace of the timeless realm, Valinor, but they wanted it here, in the changing world.
Exactly. That internal conflict, that desire to hold on to fading beauty forever. It's a kind of, well, maybe a noble hubris, as you said.
Which brings us back to that phrase, the long defeat. Given all this weight, this memory, what does that phrase truly encapsulate?
It's really the heart of the Elvish view of history. It's this deep-seated understanding that no matter how hard they try to preserve beauty, order, peace,
They're ultimately fighting a losing battle.
against decay, against evil, against the slow changes of time, yes. But crucially, the long defeat isn't about giving up. It's about persisting despite knowing the odds. It's about endurance.
Which is why Galadriel sang it in Lothlórien, together through the ages of the world we have fought the long defeat. It's not resignation.
No, it's a statement of their entire existence, a millennia-long struggle they continue to fight.
And this idea, it goes way back in their history, doesn't it? Right back to the beginning.
Absolutely. You see it all through the Silmarillion. The Valar and the Elves constantly fighting Morgoth, resisting him.
But they could never fully undo the damage he caused.
Never fully heal the world. And then you have the internal tragedies. Feanor's rebellion, the kinslayings, that terrible oath. These self-inflicted wounds just added to the sense of inevitable loss.
So even their greatest triumphs were sort of stained with loss.
Always. Victory always came at a tremendous cost, often seeding future sorrows.
Okay, so this is clearly a core Elvish concept, but you mentioned Tolkien's letters earlier. Does this long defeat idea connect to his own philosophy?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just Elvish lore. Tolkien was quite open about it. He wrote, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, that as a Christian, specifically a Roman Catholic, he didn't expect history itself to be anything but a long defeat.
Really? So he saw all of history that way?
In a sense, though he added that history, especially in legend, can contain samples or glimpses of final victory. But the overall trajectory in a fallen world, a long defeat.
Wow. That adds a whole other layer to it. It's his own worldview shining through the elves.
Precisely. It gives their struggle a much deeper, almost theological resonance.
And Lothlórien, Galadriel's realm, seems like a perfect symbol of this whole thing, this beautiful, preserved sanctuary.
It really is. Galadriel uses her ring, Nenya, the Ring of Water, to actively hold back time's decay there.
Making it feel timeless, like the seasons barely change.
A pocket of the past, preserved. But that's the paradox, isn't it? Even there, in that golden wood, the tragedy is present.
Because they can only delay change, not stop it.
Exactly. Galadriel says it herself to Frodo. It's such a poignant moment.
Right, she asks him, "Do you not see now wherefore your coming is to us as the footstep of doom?"
Yeah, because if Frodo fails, they're exposed to Sauron. But, she says, if he succeeds...
Then our power is diminished and Lothlórien will fade and the tides of time will sweep it away.
It's heartbreaking. Even victory, the defeat of the ultimate evil, means the end of their own havens, their own power in Middle-earth. It's a defeat wrapped inside a victory.
Which leads to another really core, maybe counterintuitive Tolkien idea. The gift of men.
Ah, yes. Death as a gift.
For us, death usually feels like the ultimate tragedy. But in Tolkien's world, it's different. How can death be a gift?
It's a complete inversion of how we often think. The idea, laid out in the Silmarillion, is that death is the unique fate given by Ulithor, by God, to men.
And it's a gift because...
Because it allows men release from the circles of the world. They aren't bound to Arda forever. They go elsewhere. A destiny beyond the world.
While the elves remain bound.
Bound and burdened. The text even says that as time wears on, even the Valar, the powers, shall envy the gift given to men, envy their release.
So Tolkien really saw elves and men as having fundamentally different paths, different souls even.
Completely different categories. He wrote about this too, saying, men's function is unique, to break out of the cycle of a world and leave it. Elves endure within the world. Men are destined to pass beyond it.
And you see this playing out so clearly at the end of the Third Age with the elves leaving Middle-earth.
It's not this triumphant victory lap. It's melancholic. A quiet departure.
Elrond sums it up, doesn't he? Our time here is ending. The world of men will rise, and we will pass into the West, fading from memory.
That fading from memory part is key. It's literal. They lose their influence, their lands fade like Lothlórien, but it's also spiritual. Their purpose in Middle-earth is ending. They're becoming myth.
It's just a profound sense of ending for them.
A very long, slow, graceful, but sorrowful ending.
But, okay, despite all this, the long defeat, the fading, the burden of memory, you said Tolkien's vision isn't nihilistic. It's not all just doom and gloom.
Definitely not. There's immense beauty and enduring hope woven through it all. Think about Beren and Luthien.
The great love story.
Yes. It's packed with sorrow, sacrifice, seemingly impossible odds. But it also contains the only instance in the entire legendarium of someone returning from the dead.
Luthien brings Beren back.
And more than that, Luthien, an elf, chooses mortality. She gives up her endless life to share Beren's fate.
That's huge. Love literally changing destiny.
Yeah. It shows that connection, choice, and love can transcend even the seemingly fixed fates of elves and men. It's a spark of ultimate hope within the sadness.
And Arwen echoes that choice much later.
She does. She chooses Aragorn, chooses immortal life, knowing it means separation from her kin, knowing it means eventual grief.
But she finds peace in that choice.
That's what she implies. She says something like, "Only by departing from these lands can I find peace." For her, peace wasn't in immortality, but in embracing the finite human story with all its grief and grace.
So putting it all together, when we look at Tolkien's elves, we shouldn't see these aloof, perfect beings.
No, they're more like weary stewards, keepers of memory in a world that's slowly moving past them.
And their sorrow isn't really about death, it's about watching everything they love erode over time.
Exactly. The long defeat isn't just a military or political term. It's a description of their relationship with time itself, memory, endurance, and a deep, abiding faith despite the fading.
So immortality, in Tolkien's hands, isn't freedom from pain.
It's almost the opposite. It's the condition that deepens pain, allows sorrow to accumulate endlessly.
And yet, there's still beauty in that endurance, still meaning.
Absolutely. Which brings us back to Galadriel's other famous line, the one she says when tempted by the ring, "All shall love me and despair."
Yeah, that sounds pretty menacing at first glance, like a boast.
It does. But when you understand the context of the long defeat, her fading power, her immense weariness, it sounds different, doesn't
It
it?
sounds more like a lament, a cry of sorrow.
I think so. It's the despair of a being who represents a beauty and power that is passing away, leaving the world, perhaps leaving those who love that old world behind in a kind of grief.
A reflection of their fading place.
Their defeat is long, yes, but not empty. Their sorrow is vast, but it gives their existence incredible depth. It's not meaningless.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with something to really think about. In Tolkien's world, even this fading, this seeming defeat, can contain a kind of grace, a bittersweet beauty. How does that idea sit with you? Does it change how you think about change or loss or even just carrying on in your own life?